awesome. But let me speak to my friends now who joined me in the studio from the Africa Private Sector Summit. Mr. Emmanuel K. Bensa, the Deputy Executive Director, APN, Head of Media and Communications, APSS, and Mr. Nelson Gottfried as the CEO, MSME Ghana Network, Secretary Coordinator or APSS of APSS Local Planning Organizing Committee. Okay, that's a lot of titles. So let me just let you introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
Yeah, I'm Nelson Gottfried.
Okay.
I'm a consultant by profession working in the private sector, mostly with the MSMEs, which constitute the informal sector.
Okay.
You know, and they are majority, 80–90% of the economy and contributes significantly. Our entities also are a member of the Ghana Chamber of Commerce. We'll come to that.
Okay.
The Ghana Chamber of Commerce is very significant in the Africa Private Sector Summit.
Okay.
You know, so that's why.
That's it.
And I'm the planning committee secretary.
Okay.
And also coordinator to see all the linking all the partners and.
Okay. Oh, that sounds like a lot.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. Cool. Thank you. And Mr. Bensa?
Yes. So basically, by training, I'm more of a regional integration person, ECOWAS and AU policy analyst. But for the African Continental Free Trade Area Policy Network, that's kind of the day job, where I'm responsible for outreach and then looking at AU policies and so on. But for Africa Private Sector Summit is because it's bringing a number of organizing partners. So I head the media and communication to ensure that we reach out to the media to make sure that we get the messaging. Because the messaging of everything is important.
It's important, of course.
So, and Nelson has been very critical in the conversation on ensuring that, you know, he opens many avenues to get the outreach out.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So what is the purpose of this summit in the first place?
Okay, so basically, we've all heard a lot about the African Continental Free Trade Area.
Of course.
There are many layers, many different conversations happening. For some, it's about women and youth. For some, it's about the private sector. And in fact, the private sector and after, the conversation around that has been overflogged for some of us. Because a lot of the time it's just about meetings and conversations around the private sector. How do we open it up for them? And so on. Now, the difference with the African Private Sector Summit is that we are more, even as we position ourselves as a think tank, we are also more a do tank, so to speak, in the sense that we want action-oriented results in the context of the conversation around after, which means that we want to see specific things that have been achieved.
Okay.
One of them is ensuring that the private sector is empowered. All over the world, we know that the private sector has been experiencing challenges, and COVID-19 has not helped at all. A lot of businesses have collapsed and so on, but now is the time, with what we have seen with people making lemonade out of lemons. Around COVID, what we need to do is to make sure that the private sector really gets the necessary boost to make sure that it is also contributing, it's taking advantage of the African Continental Free Trade Area. So it is in this context that the African Private Sector Summit felt, look, well, what do we need to do practically to empower the private sector? We need action-oriented things. Hence the draft Bill of Rights, which is now with the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa. That was one of the major outputs of our maiden edition in March. We managed to get the European Union and the ECA to find money to put up a Bill of Rights. So now it's with the lawyers. The lawyers are the ones who were asked to apply. So the draft Bill of Rights for private sector is supposed to be applicable for all 55 member states of the AU, so that it will help regulate how the private sector works, help empower them. But the other interesting and important conversation for APSS is private sector working together with academia. Because at the end of the day, private sector was built by, academia. The academics have been shunned for too long. So the partnership with organizations like the Association of African Universities, which is right here in Accra, by the way. They've been around since '67. They used to be in Morocco, then they moved to Accra. They're at East Legon. So the Association of African Universities is also an AU agency, but it's the apex AU agency responsible for promoting the education and implementing the educational policies of the African Union.
Okay.
And so the Association of African Universities, because it's 55 member states of the African Union linking up as an association of universities, they're a powerful force to deal with. So they need to work together with the private sector, look at how they restructure the curriculum to ensure that the up-and-coming generation also begin to appreciate how the African Union works, how regional economic communities like ECOWAS, SADC, and all these things work, plus also how the African Continental Free Trade Area also works. AFTA is an opportunity for us to do things differently.
Yeah.
So we need to empower the private sector, need to empower our academics as well to make sure that, so to that end, there's even going to be a trust fund. One of the outputs of this second series in October is that there will be a trust fund to ensure that some money is put in by chambers of commerce into the trust fund and part of that money will be used to help empower academia across the continent, to help restructure their curricula as well, and ensure that they do the needful to make sure that the AFTA becomes a meaningful thing and not just another project by the AU where it's just talk. No. We are action oriented, so it's in that respect that
Okay, so you have mentioned some of your partners, but who are some of the other ones? And what roles are they playing? In order
actually is a multi-stakeholder partnership. The Ghana Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the Pan-African Chamber of Commerce and Industry, as Ike has said, also the African Association of African Universities, their own think tank, which is an AFTA policy network, APN, the CSOs are there, Business and Trade Unions, Chambers of Commerce, and also the MSMEs, as I have mentioned, are all partners. And as mentioned by Ike also, funded by the UN Economic Commission for Africa. UNECA, headquartered in Ethiopia, and then the EU. But we're also looking for extra partners, because the interest is growing, and the participants now, which are targeted at 200, is a hybrid. So the face-to-face 200 in Accra, but globally, the first one in March had about 6,000 online participants.
Wow, okay.
Yes, that was great.
That was great,
so now 200 face-to-face participants.
And then the rest will be online.
Online. And the interest is growing. So we need to see that we get other partners
involved,
and even corporate sponsorship. So those corporate entities that want to associate with us, this is key.
All right, good stuff. Let me come back to you. So you talk about the fact that one of the outcomes that you're hoping for, that you're planning on, is the setting up of the trust fund.
Yes.
Okay, so that's one thing. What are some of the other outcomes or achievements that you are hoping that this summit will be able to materialize?
Well, the idea is that we're building on the success of Series 1. And we know that a lot of people may not have followed Series 1. So we want to continue reminding them about the rationale in the first place of Series 1. So to that end, I think for some of us in the media and communications, there's still a little bit of work for us to do, because we need to ensure that in the 120-page report that came out, there's one on the website which can be downloaded from africaprivatesectorsummit.org. It needs to be clear for the 5 days of that summit, there were a lot of very interesting speakers, including people like former Trade, Minister of Trade, Biogabra. He was also part of the panelists, I believe, on day 3. But we had and then we had the president of Niger as a keynote speaker, because of where Niger is in the conversation on AFTA. They are the champion for the AU champion for African Continental Free Trade Area. So for those of us at communications, what we want to do going forward ahead of the summit is to be able to distill some of the messaging from the 5 days held in March, so that it is clear on day 1, these are the outcomes that were held for day 1, day 2, day 3, and so on and so forth. And then use that to build the momentum for Series 2 in October. So that there's a bigger and larger conversation. Now, the conversation on this one is a lot more focused on the regional economic communities, the African Continental Free Trade Area, bringing former presidents as well to the table. So we've reached out to people like Dangote, and millionaires across the continent who can come and tell us their story. You see, a lot of the time, spending time with someone who has been on the ground, who has made his millions for 30 minutes will give you a lot of insight into how things can be done. It's not always about just giving you money to do something.
Of course.
It's the experience, telling us how you did it, what inspiration you can give us so that we can...
What it takes, what you must do, what you mustn't do.
Precisely.
Yeah,
and in this age where some of us believe that the youth is a superpower, probably the fifth superpower, in what it's been able to do in Mali and all these other places, and Guinea, it is important that we also get the buy-in of the youth to appreciate why this summit is being held. So to that end, we actually have a young man from Gambia as well who has been doing some good things in his country. So he's going to be hopefully coming to this summit to tell us, as an entrepreneur, young entrepreneur, what has he been able to do to help inspire the youth and also link that conversation up with what millionaires on the continent have been able to do, their experiences as well. Now, a lot of the time there's so many conferences like these. So the question is, what is the unique selling proposition that we want to bring to bear on this?
Yeah.
The added value, what is the added value? The added value, I think, for us, the biggest takeaways, and Nelson will build on this, is that we want people to understand that the private sector needs to work with academia, number one. We need to have a trust fund for the educational institutions. The educational system needs an overhaul. Reason for which we see youth all over the place stumbling over each other because they want to get a job. They want to get a job when they can stay at home, become entrepreneurs. You know, we can't rely on office jobs any longer, especially with what we have seen with COVID. COVID has forced us to stay at home. We can't be staying at home watching paint dry.
No, you can't.
We need to go out on the farm and all these things to see what we can do to, make a little bit of money and save our parents from, from heartaches as well, of looking after us. So all these things are some of the reasons why we are motivated as a team to ensure that we pull off a great summit. We are very happy that we have supporters like the UN Economic Commission for Africa supporting. It didn't come easy. It took the leadership of the chair, Mr. Wendell, and his organizing committee to make sure that the ECA bought into the idea. It's not every day that the ECA will look at your concept paper and say, we like it, we'll put money behind it. So the fact that they are willing, just in 6 months, they have put money behind it and willing to sponsor so many participants, 150 participants, and then flying in journalists to pay their accommodation, tells us that we're on to a good thing. So we're happy that we have the support of the ECA, parts of the EU as well, and all these other, we hope to grow our partners so that we can continue the momentum up to Rwanda. In Rwanda, Series 3 will be held in Rwanda, first quarter, and we'll be doing more outputs as well. By then, we would have clarity on where the state, the educational trust fund is going, as well as some of the other things on the relationship between Association of African Universities as the Apex AU Agency on Education and the Pan-African Chambers of Commerce and Industry. The other outputs of the maiden edition was that we brought them together to sign an MOU to ensure that implementation of some of these things happens very quickly, rather than talking up and down. So more outputs are going to come out from this. For me, as a media and communications head, one of the things that I'm doing also is setting up a media network for this conference so that we bring the media, both local and international, to make sure they carry the messaging. Also offer them some training on what the AU Regional Economic Community is about, because there's a lot of things that are headaches in Ghana, and sometimes we may not have enough time to read up about AU and ECOWAS and all these other institutions. So we want to be able to do that as well, and hopefully helps take some of them to Rwanda and wherever else the other series of the ATSS takes us.
That sounds good. And so just before you go, if you can just give us a brief idea of how this is going to impact or affect or benefit the private sector here in Ghana. Like, what are some of the things that we can
actually, the uniqueness of this summit is that it's not the usual talk shop. It's an action-oriented, implementable summit. in the sense that even the Series 2 now, in end of October, is aimed at a master action plan which will be contributed to by the various sectors in terms of projects and programs that will be implemented from October. So immediately after the summit, the projects are going to be implemented. One of the projects, for example, is that the chambers will partner with the financial sector, including the central banks. And so the Ghana Central Bank is needed. John Awuah of the Banking Association, all of them are needed to talk with the private sector to solve this nagging problem of ease of access to finance. Right? And we have a solution. We have a solution that will emerge in the summit for the players to work together to get ease of access of finance and also the interest rates and things like that related, right? And then he had talked about the partnership between the private sector and the universities. But it also involves the private-public partnership because actually presidents are expected to sit round with the business magnates, right? And even the youth entrepreneurs that he has mentioned. A lot of them are coming from around the country to participate. And we are hoping our president will host this because it is his country that this is happening. So if his other colleagues are expected to come, then he becomes the host and possibly invites all of them, plus also the magnates, to come and have what we call the big conversation. The theme is awakening the sleeping giants of Africa to get the Africa we want and to get Africa's turnaround. Africa itself is a sleeping giant. And there are various sectors of Africa, including our peoples, who are sleeping, who need to be awakened. You know, to implement the various protocols of the Regional Economic Commission and also after. So we need all hands on deck, right? And we are even bringing a big contingent of women entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs, MSMEs from across the country and the continent, including young guys who are not waiting to get a job, but after university have entered into farming, some into digital and technology things, you know, and they are all coming to this summit. And then they'll benefit from it.
It sounds really good. So if somebody is watching us and they want to participate, just before we go, how do they get involved?
They go on the website.
Yes, africaprivatesectorsummit.org. What they can also do, the website is still being populated with information. But once they send an email to the emails indicated on the website,
they'll be contacted.
We'll contact them, and then up until we sort out some of the technical issues around the registration.
If we should give a number, maybe we can.
Yeah, sure.
Yes. So they can call 0241 888 167, 0241 888 167, and then they will get some information and materials and all that.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
For joining us this morning. We're looking forward to this from the 19th to the 22nd of October. And of course, you can call the number or you can go to the website if you'd like to sign up for this amazing conference. Thank you, gentlemen, once again.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, so we only have about 10 minutes left on our clock. And for the show, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, well, who knows what we'll come back with. Don't go anywhere.